Yeah, again, for the people who don't get it, I mean, my writing style mirrors the delightful ex-poster Garfield bot, who is a very disinhibited sped with a computer. When the computer things were for the preserve of men like me only, there were no women on the internet when it first arrived, I assure you. The space was for this kind of behaviour to continue. So it was gentlemen totally disinhibited, realising their brains could be spilled out onto a page, and because there were no women anywhere and people couldn't physically attack you, you were now free. So the benefit of the internet was always it was a warm bath for the brain, and you could say whatever you wanted, which in my case was of course telling the truth. So the current position is Deborah Agentieri, God knows whoever that is hiding behind a piece of plastic. So of course this is very postmodern. So I've got a piece of plastic pointing at a separate screen, pointing at the article I've written, goes into Substack servers, and of course can link to X, which is saying, can we find this cretin so she could be interviewed under caution, effectively, as one of the most senior bureaucrats in Birmingham who attacks people for a living. And we're saying, well, this woman has made no attempt to actually contact me and is some kind of debased patronage money war bride, if you are looking at the city of Birmingham from Diogenes' barrel, which I have been from the court service my entire career. So again, she's not intelligent enough to actually respond to these sentences quickly because she doesn't have the mental agility. So this kind of stuff slapping her through a computer screen is clearly terrifying. But nobody cares what this woman thinks because she has no right to attack me. So when a solicitor is found, we need to go and find her personally, her meat suit, get her away from the computer or with my solicitor so her behaviour can be accounted for. If in a bureaucracy your employees are at risk of being stabbed to death, attacked by Islamists or race communists, you can't actually demand that they die. If that has wider implications for the city of Birmingham because you've done nothing for several years and allowed crooks to take over the office of the city solicitor, then that's a police matter, isn't it? So you have to get them in. Obviously, logically, your head of your court service has been caught lying and abusing Burmese Council's resources to try and cover his own arse. So there is no reason for the police to not be talking to me other than the collapse of West Midlands Police because their leader is now capitulating to struggle sessions and not speaking to the managing director under caution after Lowell's got the bloke attacks in the pub and the violent mobs, which he can't police, and are now locking us out in the court service and all this kind of stuff. But for the benefit of Pete North, I mean, this does go back to sort of Civil War stuff, and this is obviously sort of breakdown of basic law and order. We are clearly in Civil War situation because I'm just living proof that you can't get police. So if police want to come in here with this lister, I'm not going to immediately behead them, but we need to discuss criminal law in Birmingham, don't we, with solicitors, so the process can actually be moving. So we can actually find the managing director, so this woman is not actually hiding because she's trying to power grab that's gone wrong. So once again, Civil War planning has already been discussed. Again, it's open to the public, so if you want to be funny, again, cannabis has been totally legal since 2018. If you're autistic, you just go through the clinical process and read the clinical literature like an adult, so you can use it and drive, not get arrested. Drive sensibly, but because that's true and they haven't issued guidance because they don't give a toss about their workforce and are just treating them like meat, we now have effectively a tank on the side of Birmingham sort of pumping gas very, very angrily into Birmingham servers because Canning is an incompetent and particularly nasty crook and doesn't belong in a civilised society. But anyway, there's Birmingham, so you've got all the current employees trying to be shielded from this information. You don't want to hurt their fragile little brains. So the equity isn't real, doesn't exist. It's a word the managing director uses to control people. And you say, oh, what is this? What is this magical thing? It doesn't exist. It's just a circular power game using your own stupidity to fuel a power grab. So that was attempted by John Cotton, his managing director. Cotton's gone by the political process. Bang! His managing director went before I booked out of Birmingham because I'm a sniper. Bang! There's the ghost of my dead father with his flamer and his huge thymotic energy gun of the Celts from the past, blowing this woman apart. And all the squigs are now going feral and chasing people. But one of the squigs or to the Squigs, sorry, going after John Cotton, of course, the Green Lane war boss who took over corporate communications and attacked the Celts, the venomous little goblin using critical race theory in the back, and the HR goblins pumping air into this crook. Nicky Brennan says she loves the housing, she just wants power. The old girl's got all this money and got all this lovely life, and she's going to get it soon, she's going to inherit it, but oh no, her court officer's in the room and caught her as well, so poor old Nicky, she's hiding too, her money might get taken away. And there's West Midlands police who've been gate kept out by the brain drone saying, no, we're running the housing service totally legitimately. No, we can't. We're pumping in through corporate communications saying, mental health, we can't take it seriously. But if you stop it on the silly voice, you obviously show them the clinical literature manuals and you say, well, you can't really address the matters in the court service when you're at risk of serious violence. Have to treat your own CPTSD yourself from a bunker because the people in your offices are seriously dangerous and corrupt. If you're going into offices in central Birmingham, sitting in a glass building, talking to Matthew Morrison about entryism, and then he's just leaving and nobody else is coming to speak with you, then your organisation just cannot run, love, sorry. The police investigation goes in, these people are pulled back in under caution, and a number of them are going to be going to jail once witness statements are compiled. But while this chaos is going on, so if you think about it, this in terms of the entire countries, this is just Birmingham, so this nest of seething chaos which is unpoliceable. These guys would actually need to be replaced by the army to actually have power for the British state to actually be able to operate in Birmingham, but this is spreading to the rest of the country. Seeing it, are the Restore guys who are stuck in Black Paul's case, apparently in his kitchen, still trying to pull on the levers of the British state. So Blair's, I think one of Blair's comments, maybe also one of his advisors, was they regret the FOI stuff. So allowing people to look inside organisations was what they never wanted. So in this case, this is our Straw guys. So this is our information warfare team. Again, tightly organised group. And there's all the cretins and the spirers around them trying to get in and try to deny them access to various things. Head of local government, I know he's still been locked out, this kind of stuff, brain bots. But they're trying to have a look, presumably, at what's happening in Birmingham at the moment and being kept out, or at the moment being told by a bureaucrat, yeah, well, if we kick people out of the housing stock, well, there are then groups who try and keep them in the country. We can't do much about that. So this is Home Office, central government, can you do something? Well, the central government aren't talking to court officers, so how do you expect that to work? You don't need to read Clausewitz to make the link. And again, once again, we're in Edinburgh, so they're too stupid to actually work out what I am. But I'm some filthy Irish ruffian with a rusty rifle who took a shot at the managing director. Totally illegitimate. Clearly, it's an anti-racist city. Definitely, dear. And the sort of the computer is now sort of a brain bot type affair. So because you're too terrifying and they want money, and a lot of these people are sort of low-level thugs and gangsters, they're trying to say, well, because we sent out a brain bot, therefore all our legal responsibilities are discharged and you can go and die. And you're saying, well, I haven't died. How do I conduct my business when this is going on? So I want to sell my property and get away from this, but how? Because I can't talk to a solicitor. I can only speak to a sort of child abuser or nobody. Unless some kind of person within the British legal system who is honest, the British legal system is now broken down because Deborah Argentieri is effectively a brain bot. So she's not really real, she's a replicant. And this woman is just attacking me via this sort of process. She gets blown apart every day. People just look at this thing and go, well, nobody will take this woman seriously. You can't seriously expect her to not arrange any kind of assistance, even if assistance is, can we discuss getting my assets out with a solicitor, that kind of stuff. She's not actually permitted to behave like this in law. You get into a court and you play these recordings back to a courtroom, and you make the point that the only sessions you've had since November last year are delivery of post after many months and after by a member of your family after saying, look, you need to actually get things moving. after being homeless for a long time, and the current position where, because the only thing that's lacking at the moment is the financial flows. So that's the problem at the moment. Well, it's not the problem, it's one of the problems. Money's not a problem at all, but it's just that the velocity of money is a concern because of the constriction of the states. You can't conduct your business because the local authority is, and the various British organisations are claiming that they can't respond to anything at all. And the response is, well, because we're so incompetent and dangerous, and because the state is now breaking down, we're going to complain that you're pointing out that the state is breaking down and that there is no way a reasonable person of any means in Birmingham could reasonably get redress at this point, other than doing what we're doing, which is physically getting out of there, get the hell out. Thankfully, get in a position because of the various wealth change that we've got, or I've got, that we can survive, at least survive here until some kind of professional service gets involved. But you've gone in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs sense from November until now, literally with a bag on your back, right? So two bags. They're a cupboard over there, but just a backpack sized bag and a walking bag, bit of shrapnel, and then my grandfather's painting off a British warship. Between then and now, by paying just companies to do removals, that kind of stuff, just relying on personal savings and investments to get physically stable. We've got the political links set up, so regardless, we've helped out a lot of people down at Great Yarmouth, and at least we had a stab at Burnham's constituency, so we can at least say we're trying to take Manchester. When the country is whining at us and saying, why didn't you do more? Well, we gave you an opportunity once with Rebecca. The second time round, I wasn't in Manchester for that. I couldn't do much. Handing out leaflets was not a good use of my time. And of course, the Birmingham aggression ramped up after the political wins and the grooming gangs. Inquiry looks like it was gaining actual powers, but we now do have this position where it's such a deranged position. So you go down to central London again with the Battle of Ideas festival last year, and it was a great event. And you attend the Civil War panel, the grooming gangs and post office panel, and Charlie Peters says, do you want to die? And he's like, well, no, not really at this point, mate, but I think I'm going to anyway, given how Birmingham is turning out. You can't say this to him though. It's a first event when you can't shoot your mouth off. Went to the women panel. That was a challenging assault, and it was a good event. But of course, after you've been to the post office scandal, you got involved with the grooming gangs inquiry. You've done all this before the party was actually formed in Restore's case. So we were out in November. I think they were formed in Feb or something. Conspicuously and in a Christian sense, when I got into housing, this place was a shell back then, just totally empty, a cold box. We got it kitted out with the constituency office, and we're ready now to take on Pat McFadden, it's good to have England actually being a separate country at this point. You are lucky to have the border, so you can deal with English matters now as an English matter, so out of the fucking country, and give great respect to the Scots for letting Brummie refugees flee north. But I am still a Celt, so if I am in the home of the Celts, I sort of feel like I have a right to be here as well. I'll certainly pay respect to the history of the people who've lived here, built this place out of the rock. But in terms of the rest of the country, if you don't want your country to be run, if you don't want Scotland to be run on this kind of banana republic type nonsense, you need to have a look at what's coming from your southern border. So if the Scots want a hard border, well, as an Englishman, it'd be totally fine for it. So if you want a border checkpoints, an airport checkpoints, so you can do a new passport issue, but that could be something for the Scottish Parliament. So you've got this guy who's gained access via an airport, has been elected by potentially foreign powers. Again, there was no it appears to be very easy to vote here, and you've now got the situation where this person has political power in the country because the Scottish Parliament has allowed this entryism effectively. So you'd have to do something about that in a constitutional sense. And what I'm suggesting is, given that we need a counter-revolution, Parveen in his analysis is correct. So it's the Argentinian premier is tearing apart the parliament. You need that kind of stuff. So you need hard power. We go in with police. No, you're out. In many cases, in these counter-revolutions, people get paid off. You don't arrest them all. It's better to be give them a golden bridge, pay you off, and just leave. We'll pay you off, and you'll leave quietly. Work for the Doge teams, because if the people on your side aren't child abusers and Christians, you tend to say, well, you tend to have that kind of attitude. Go into organisations, you can rely on each other and get the people who don't belong there out. You can feel them out and get them flushed, and you can have a rock solid compliance team. Get women like this out of bureaucracies. But yes, anyway, so I'm probably sort of digressing as the helpful agent to resist the Brummies fades from my system. Again, for the clerical record, this is why in terms of occupational health stuff, you need to actually take this up seriously. So when you're trying to think through a witness statement or whatever it is, so the effect leaves your system, and you can feel the endocannabinoid receptors or whatever it is shutting down. That's not really a problem. I mean, if you're thinking through an inference, there's enough in the tank to think through it, but you can feel the energy pull back. And what you would need to do even in a crowded office, basically just press a button on the side, light up your machine, which again is a medical device. Think of this as, in legal terms, this is a kid's inhaler, effectively. Nobody cares for your opinion. That is how it is viewed in legal terms. It's just a straightforward inference. So you press the button on the side and just suck it, and a few puffs come out. So in court, the case will be, well, I'm offended. Well, I'm sorry, it's not psychoactive, it's not affecting you. Your offence is probably you think it's illegal or immoral, but nobody cares in either place. If you look at the clinical histories that this is prescribed for, no reasonable person would look at the case history and say you behaving like that is anyway reasonable. In the modern world, because it's gone through a clinical pathway, we're behaving like the adults, I'm afraid. We've read the clinical literature to own and use this safely, so we're not deferring to you. So in terms of Birmingham, again, they can explain why staff haven't been assisted, right? So again, medical device, not controversial at all, haven't been insisted to use this in the workplace, and Darren Canning can have a look at that in terms of occupational health and safety. But we just want a lawyer so we can sue the organisation. So we're not letting Darren Canning carry on and pretend that he cares about his workforce. This allows you to do so much. I mean, it affects the brain and body, but it's really what they're afraid of is the effect on the brain. So it's an inference-making machine. He's got a segment of his workforce who are biologically honest. So we've identified these people in the population. These are people who are above average intelligence, effectively computers, are generally disinhibited. Their problem is their brains are being inhibited by people who attack them, either physically, because it's Birmingham, or via their careers. So people who have no business overseeing them, they're not intelligent enough or ethical enough to oversee them, and have just been attacking them, dumping them off in armchairs. So in Birmingham, there are a number of my colleagues who are stuck with criminals who cannot obey the law, and this device, via puffs of vapour, will smoke them out. So if you go into a Birmingham office, one of my colleagues is holding on to these, and they can show you the paperwork, don't fuck about with them. If you do, what they should go and do is go straight to a solicitor and be assertive. So you can be assertive under the law. No, I'm sorry, I was getting on with whatever I was doing. This person cannot obey the law, behave sensibly, and I would like to discuss damages against the City of Birmingham, please. And again, you can pump the gas through the organisation that way. So historic damages is reasonable. And while you're doing that on a personal level, please, if you can find me a solicitor so I can help to do that. It's fairly obvious to anybody who's part of the witness statement that you can make a personal, perfectly reasonable legal inference, but the state is currently preventing me from making inferences because the inferences are too scary for Deborah Agentieri. or the EHRC cretin, who again has looked at Deborah as an example. So Deborah can create a fake bureaucrat and say, "Oh, naughty, naughty! I'm not going to reply. It doesn't actually matter what the law says. You're very naughty. Oh no, no, no," and hide behind a computer. So again, if this woman wants to come and fire me, she can come to St. Giles and explain her behaviour. But otherwise, this is my mot and this is my Bailey.